Hi, this is Shahrezad from the World Uyghur Congress. I will take you guys through the most recent news about China's repression of Uyghurs and how the World Uyghur Congress have been working on some of the issues. World Uyghur Congress marks 4th anniversary of continued silence on Yarkand Massacre in East Turkestan. On July 28, 2018, on the 4th anniversary of the Yarkand Massacre, the World Uyghur Congress remembered all the innocent people who were killed on the day and in the days following by Chinese police and security forces. It has been 4 years since security forces killed at least 96 people in an incident that continues to be shrouded in secrecy. The incident that occurred in July 2014 would mark the deadliest episode since unrest in Urumqi in July 2009. And many details about what transpired remains murky to this day. All communication to and from the region was suspended as internet and cell communication disappeared. After 4 years, countless questions remained unanswered about the true number of those arrested, killed, and disappeared. The lack of transparency, accountability, and justice for the families of the missing and deceased has been striking. 4 years after Yarkand, the problems that instigated the protest still persist and have deteriorated further. The lack of attention or public condemnation from the international community and national governments towards the deteriorating situation in East Turkestan has made it possible for the Chinese government to escalate its repression of the Uyghur people in recent years, culminating in the arbitrary detention of over 1 million Uyghurs in political indoctrination camps. We therefore implore the community of states, NGOs, and international organizations to come together to strongly raise the issue in order to effect change. On Saturday, the World Uyghur Congress and the Uyghur community in Germany protested at Karlsplatz in Munich to commemorate the Yarkand massacre. Protesters handed out pamphlets with detailed information about the incident and the current situation for the Uyghurs in East Turkestan. They also demanded that Chinese authorities disclose any information about the actual number of Uyghurs who were killed and the whereabouts of those who were victims of enforced disappearance during and after the incident. US officials have spoken out about the human rights crisis in East Turkestan. The World Uyghur Congress was encouraged this week by a number of speeches and events held by high-level US officials to draw attention to the China's continuous human rights abuse in East Turkestan being perpetrated against Uyghur people. There was also a focus on moving beyond just rhetoric to discuss what concrete measures the US could take to address the situation. On Monday, July 23rd, World Uyghur Congress President Dolkan Isa spoke about issues of over 1 million Uyghurs in political indoctrination camps at the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation rally for religious freedom in Asia. Isa was joined by US Senator Ted Cruz, representatives from dozens of human rights and religious organizations on the west lawn of the US Capitol to protest the ongoing religious persecution carried out by the Chinese Communist regime. Mr. Isa met with Senator Cruz after the event to provide him with more information on the situation in East Turkestan and the call for concrete action to be taken. On July 25th, the US Congressional-Executive Commission on China convened a hearing on Uyghur human rights crisis. The hearing looked at the serious and deteriorating human rights situation faced by Uyghurs, examined the Chinese government's efforts to build the world's most advanced police state in East Turkestan, and explored policy options to address these issues. High-level US officials, including Committee Chair Senator Marco Rubio and Co-Chair Congressman Chris Smith, and Senators Steve Daines, Angus King, and Tom Cotton participated in the hearing, listening to testimonies from Ambassador Kelly Curry, a U.S. representative at the UN, Gulchik Ravoja, a Uyghur service journalist from Radio Free Asia.
As I testify before you today, it grieves me to know and to say that my parents remain under threat, and more than 24 of my relatives in China are missing, almost certainly held in called re-education camps run by Chinese government.
Ryan Thom, a scholar of East Turkistan at Loyola University, and Jessica Becky, senior editor at China File. After hearing the testimonies, members of the commission urged the administration to take concrete action, such as considering the application of Global Magnitsky Act against senior party officials in East Turkestan, responsible for these rights violations, including Party Secretary Chen Quanguo. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence also criticized China during his address to the State Department's first ministerial to advance religious freedom last week, saying,
"Sadly, as we speak as well, Beijing is holding hundreds of thousands and possibly millions of Uyghur Muslims in so-called re-education camps, where they're forced to endure around-the-clock political indoctrination to denounce their religious beliefs and their cultural identity as the goal."
The words of recognition and concern from the U.S. official is encouraging, and the World Uyghur Congress urged them to follow up with concrete action to help all those who are detained or who have disappeared. World Uyghur Congress calls on UK Foreign Secretary Hunt to address China's continuous repression of Uyghurs during visit. This week, as the newly appointed British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt embarks on his first official visit to China, the World Uyghur Congress called on the British government to stand firm on the UK's commitment to common values of human rights and democracy in its foreign policy, and address the massive human rights violations being perpetrated by the Chinese government. Given the severity of the situation in East Turkestan, the United Kingdom has a moral responsibility to speak up and hold China accountable for its actions. We have urged the British government to stay true to their identity as a country that values human rights at home and abroad, and to resist efforts at silencing them for the sake of purely economic interests. Thank you for watching. See you next time.